Okay, welcome to another episode of the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. And today I'm in conversation with Dr. Denise Revel. Welcome, Dr. Denise.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you as well. So, Dr. Denise is a personal development coach and a business coach, and you're selling what you want. Just why don't you describe what you do? Because I love what you do. It sounds so exciting. Tell everybody what you do.
So I like to say by trade, I am a speech language pathologist or speech therapist. I've been doing that for over 28 years now. But about 6 years ago, I started a company called Own Your Amazing. It's called the Own Your Amazing movement. And it's
Yeah.
pretty much an extension of my work as a speech therapist. So I literally help people find their voices, right? Through speech therapy.
Yeah.
But I decided a few years ago that I needed to help not only myself, but other women to find their voice too and understand the power of their voice and not just their physical voice, but I call it their figurative voice, their lived experience. How are you showing up? How are you living out loud? And so that is the work I am passionate about right now, is because it's my journey. And so I invite other women to come along with me on and discovering the power of their voice, the power of their life. Are they showing up authentically? Are they usually using their voice, their power for themselves and for other people? And so that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm passionate about. And I'm always excited to get an opportunity to have a conversation with anyone about this because I just think it's so needed.
Oh, it is so needed. It really is. It really is. And I feel like, and I know that you specialize or not specialize, but you focus into helping women find their voice. But I think, and there's a lot of people who need to find their voice. And I'm imagining that the same tactics work whether you're a woman or you're trans or you're some kind of minority that's having to struggle to have their voice heard. And I just think it's an incredibly important subject, what you're talking about. And I think it's beautiful what you're doing. I know your focus is women and especially women of color. And I love that as well, because it's just so important that women have their voices heard. And it's been generations upon generations of us not having a voice. So
Absolutely. And even though I focus on women, but I get a lot of men who are part of the community because I really do think it's a universal message. But when I'm interviewed by men, they ask me, "Well, what about men? You don't focus. Why do you focus on women?" I was like, "Because I'm a woman."
yeah,
It's
exactly.
easier. Really. Like I'm a woman, but no, I welcome men into the community. I welcome anyone for any background because, again, I think it's a universal message, a universal truth that we all are seeking to be heard. And
Mhm.
so, my passion is to help to empower people with that. Um, I tell the story about how I grew up with the whole idea that children should be seen but not heard.
Mhm.
A
Yeah.
lot of us come with that. And so we think we don't have a voice and we don't think we have the right to be heard, but we do.
Yeah.
And we have the right to live out our lives in a powerful way that is going to best serve us and those that we come in contact with. So I just think everyone needs the message, but right now I'm focusing on women.
Yeah. But it's such a deeply ingrained message and set
Yes.
of programming that girls especially had, be a good girl, be quiet, let the adults talk whatever it is. When and it may sound harsh and unfair, and maybe it is, but women, when little boys are boisterous and loud, it's like, oh, they're just being boys. But
Yeah.
when a girl is like that, it's like, oh, really, put a lid on it, just
Yeah.
quieten that down. And energetically, what that
Yeah.
does to us is so disempowering. And it's such a deep scar in this terms of worthiness and being able to speak up for yourself. And I think this is one of the great imbalances of that we find in quite a lot in terms of in relationships and in society as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was very fortunate, blessed that I'm the youngest of five children. My parents had five kids, right? One boy, four girls. But inside of my home, I felt like I was heard. I felt like there was space for me to ask questions. I was that kid, well, why, daddy? Well, why, mommy? And they never shut me down. It wasn't until I got outside of that where I experienced where people were like, no, you should be quiet, or don't rock the boat, or don't speak your mind, or don't say how you really feel. And I was like, what is that? And so I would go back home and ask questions and wonder, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And again, fortunately, I had parents who allowed me to ask those questions. But again, the challenge I find was outside of that, and feeling like people were trying to silence my voice. And there were times like, well, no, I'm not. But other times I was like, well, let me be quiet because I don't want to get in trouble, or I don't want to feel like I'm, causing a stink, But over the years, I found like, we need to be able to stand in our own personal power. And so I just want to encourage people who did not have that foundation, who did not have that environment where they felt heard, that we now create that. We now create an environment for ourselves that we're like, you can be heard. What is it? How do you feel? What do you want your life to be like? A lot of times we listen to all these outside voices. That's why I talk about the power of your own voice, because there's so many voices telling us who we are, who we should be, we shouldn't be, how we should look, how we should dress, where we should go, all of that.
Yeah.
There's so many voices coming at us that it drowns out our own. And I'm asking people to get back in touch with your own voice, to hear your own voice, to tap into your own personal power, listen to yourself. And it's all about owning that. Owning every aspect of who you are. And so when we do that, we are more fulfilled, we're happier, we show up more powerfully for ourselves, and to serve other people.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know from the way that I work, when I connect with, when I'm working with somebody who has what I would call, a blocked throat chakra, which is that blocked energy in the ability to have your voice heard. It's all about expression, communication, but also a connection with truth and authenticity, and being able to say your truth, have your voice heard. I have lots of different ways that I would teach that, lots of vocalizing, lots of singing, chanting, throat opening exercise, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So I'm fascinated to know your own my amazing.
Right.
What are your modalities? How do you encourage people? What are your sort of your top tips, I guess?
I think the biggest thing that has helped me over the years is being a speech therapist. And really, there's sometimes, right now I work primarily with young children. And I always tell the parents, when they come to me and the child isn't talking, or they might have a speech impediment, they may stutter, or they may not be able to say their words correctly, right? I usually ask the parents, I said, are they aware that they talk different than other people? And I love it when they say no. Because because those who are aware, they're really shut down. They're really quiet. They don't want to talk. So it takes a lot of work initially to get them just to talk, to be okay with their own voice. And that's with anybody. It's like, you got to be okay. You got to own however you are, however you show up, it's okay. And so I love it when I can finally get a young person who has been quiet, maybe because they've been teased, because they've been taunted about they sound funny, but to get them to talk, to hear their own voice and be like, it's okay how you sound. It's okay. You're fine. We're going to work on it. But right now, how you are, who you are, it's perfect. It's okay. Once I can get that, and I get them to be okay with themselves. But, I've had kids like, well, I sound funny. It's okay. We all sound funny. How you sound is fine. Don't worry about it. And so once I can break through that, that's when the real work can get done. But that's also with other people. Like when we feel we come with shame and guilt and all these things, if I can just get them to open it, just to crack the door a little bit, like open up and like, it's okay. You're okay. You're fine. I promise you, you're still amazing. Once I can get them to that point, to open up, the rest is easy. It's just that initial acceptance and owning who we are that people are challenged with. And so I use different techniques, whatever. I have to use a lot of different tricks in my bag, but it's no one thing. But if I can get them to really open up, crack open the door for them to see like who you are is okay. Flaws and all.
So that basically, that's your, when you're talking about getting somebody to go, okay, how I am is fine. That in itself is a huge amount of work. you know, in terms of self-acceptance, self-love, you know, exercising self-care, like finding your identity, like this is huge. This is big work. So that's that, if you say, and I totally get it, because that underpins everything, you know, in the energetic system. That's all heart chakra work. And as you work up the chakras, you know, obviously, you know, then you can come up, and then once you've got that heart full of self-acceptance and self-love, then, you know, the feelings of self-worth that help you speak your truth and be heard is much easier. Okay, so let's backtrack. So working to, and I get it, like with kids, sometimes it's as easy as just saying, do you know what, you're great, you're absolutely brilliant just as you are, I think you're fabulous. That is enough for a lot of kids, but it doesn't always work on them grown-ups, so they've got a lot more.
But you know, but we all have that little child inside of us.
That's true.
That I try to speak to.
Yeah.
That have been wounded. Yeah. But if we can speak to that little girl, that little boy inside, and that's what most people come wanting, for somebody just to say, you know what, you really are great. You really are beautiful. You really are amazing.
Oh, Dr.
Who doesn't want to hear that?
Lovely energy. I just think everyone should just have an hour with you, just going, you're great, because you make me feel so good.
Who doesn't want to hear that? Who doesn't need to hear that at the core of you're amazing. You are a divine creation. Everybody needs to understand it and know that for themselves. And so I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. Everybody wants to hear that. Everybody needs to be reminded of that. And once you get that, I tell people, once you get that, that's life-changing. I'm telling you, it's life-changing. And so I start there. And I tell people the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And if I can get you to see you for you, that's amazing. And so I talk about being a divine creation. I talk about you being created on purpose and for a purpose. I talk about you're it. You are this gem. You are this amazing creation. And most people don't look at themselves that way. And so if I can get them to see themselves, that's powerful. And yes, sometimes for kids it's easier, depending on how you know, how they've been handled, you know, I don't know. But at any rate, we all have that little kid inside of us who wants to, somebody's like, hey, look at me, you are amazing, you are beautiful, you are smart, you're talented, you're all these things. Who doesn't want to hear that on a regular basis? I know I do.
I know you're absolutely right. And it's something that as, you know, especially as adults, you know, we don't get that. I mean, I think a lot of parents do go, you know, do instill that you are perfect, wonderful, amazing, I love you, in, you know, feeling towards their children. Not all children, but, you know, I'm going to try and be positive and say the majority of children feel that. But by the time we're adults, we don't have somebody telling us that. And so it's really, you know, unless you've got a gorgeous partner or, you know, friends who tell you, you know, who tell you you're wonderful, which hopefully we do have. But the most important thing is for ourselves to hear that inner ourselves telling ourselves, actually, do you know what, you're pretty damn great, you know, you've got an amazing talent, you've got this, you've got that, whatever you feel you've got, it comes from within. And that's the identity, you know, that's our self-identity that has been built in the building bricks. You know, if we look at ourselves like a building, you know, those bricks have been being laid from childhood, from birth, from pre-birth almost, you know, if we're talking about ancestral stuff as well, but you know, from birth. And there's a few of those bricks that might have come a bit rotten, you know, they were bricks that were put in there that were not healthy bricks, you know, they were a figure of authority somewhere along the line going, you're a pain in the ass, you know, whatever it was in class, you're messing around. I just, you know, someone, and it wounds you to the core, and you go, okay, so people don't like me, or people react if I do this, they react, you know, if I show my true self, I get beaten down, smacked down, be quiet, don't want to hear it, you know, shut up. You know, one of the biggest injuries energetically, I think, are those two words, shut up, which, you know, not only does it tell you to be quiet, but it's energetically telling you to shut down, literally shut up your energy. Just, put a little, yeah. It's such an incredibly damaging thing. And people say it as such a throwaway comment. Oh, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It jars me so badly. It's a horrible thing to say. So, redefining how to develop your self-confidence, how to build up that personal identity, if you have had that kind of, and it can be just an abrasive trauma through a life, just, maybe like a bully, or like your brother was a real idiot and just wore you down, or do you know what I mean? Or a teacher or a boss. I mean, colleagues and bosses can sometimes be the worst perpetrators of this, because the pressure, work, power dynamics, all of that.
Oh yeah.
So how, when you meet somebody, like in your groups of, own your amazing and your empowering women, how do you go about rebuilding those kind of those parts of yourself?
And I start with a simple question every time I work with someone. I ask them the question, who are you for you? And when I tell you a lot of people have a hard time answering that question, I would be lying. Most of the time, we don't get past, who are you for you? Who do you say that you are? Not who your spouse says you are, not who your boss says you are, not who your family says you are. Who are you? And a lot of people have not taken the time for self-reflection and say, well, who am I? Am I living the life that I want to live? Or am I living the life that everyone has told me to live? And when I tell you, most of the women, when we start there, are in tears because they never stop to consider it. Yeah. They never stop to consider, am I living the life of my dreams or someone else's? And so I tell them, I said, if you're miserable, unfulfilled, going through the motions, more than likely you're not living the life you want to live.
It's
more
true.
than likely.
And it's such an easy thing to slip into,
Absolutely.
Your education.
Absolutely.
And then, you get a job, and then you've got a boss, and you've got to conform to that, and you've got to fit yourself into society somehow. You've got to find your little niche in society where you feel comfortable, your lane. And more often than not, you fit into it. You kind of squish yourself into a shape that doesn't quite work, and then you shove yourself into it. And then maybe you meet someone, maybe you start a family, and then as parents, as mothers, you kind of lose your identity, because that's the biology of being a mother. You kind of, that's like everything for the kids. Me priority, I'm on the floor priority wise, everyone else is above. And even if you carry on a career, then that's the double pull, that's the double whammy. And it's so easy to lose yourself in that.
Yes. And it's such, what's the word I'm looking for? And it's so, not sad, I want to find a different word, but sad in the point where you're not happy, those around you're not happy, everybody can feel that. One of the stories I like to share is I did a workshop a couple of years ago, and one of my good friends, she came, she's a mother of two, married, mother to career, all the good stuff. Her kids were a little younger than what they are right now. And so during my workshops, I always talk about self-care. How are you taking care of yourself? How are you making yourself a priority in your life? Yes, you have a husband, you have children, you have a job, but where are you on the totem pole of your life? Like, I'm not. And so my friend was saying, I said, so what do you want to do as a way to take care of yourself, your self-care thing? She's like, I just want to check into a hotel, order room service, take a bath, all by myself. No husband, no kids, no nothing.
Yes.
And she said, just one night, I just want to get a good night's sleep. I don't want anybody to bother me. And so I was like, well, do it. Let's do it. Okay. Where do you want to stay? What's the hotel? And so everyone in the room was like, do it. And she was like, well, I don't know. She said, well, I'm going to go home and talk to my husband about it. Make sure, I was like, okay. I said, okay, we're going to hold you to it. I'm going to follow up with you. So later on that afternoon, her husband called me. And so, we're good friends. And so he was like, did you tell my wife that she should check into a hotel room overnight? And I was like, yeah. He said, thank you. He said, thank you. He said, I have been telling her that she needs to take better care of herself. He said, thank you for telling her and supporting her to do that. And he was like, I'm going to make sure she makes the reservation. And she did. And she started doing it like every couple of months.
Really?
Yes, because he said, I know when she does that, she'll come back a better wife and a better mother.
Yeah.
He said, thank you.
How beautiful.
Yes.
That is just, that is the best story. I absolutely love that.
Because when we take care of ourselves, we're better able to take care of those we love and those we want to serve. And a lot of times the old saying, we serve from an empty wagon. We're empty, we're depleted, we're burned out. And then we become bitter and impatient. And those around us get the brunt of that.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not how we want to show up, but we have to take the time to take care of ourselves, to replenish ourselves, to love on ourselves in whatever way it may be. For some women, they may not be able to go off, the night in a hotel, whatever it is, but just take time. Might be a bubble bath, might be a walk, but take time to replenish yourself so that you can show up more powerfully. But we don't have enough conversations around that. I talk to a lot of moms who feel guilty. I said, why should you feel guilty for taking care of you so that when you show up, you can better take care of them?
Yeah.
I said, that's an act of love. That's an act of love. When you show up loving in a powerful way, that's an act of love. It's the act of trauma when you show up bitter and angry.
Yeah,
and impatient.
absolutely.
Like yelling at the kids. Like nobody wants that. They want mommy to be happy and good. But we have to take time for ourselves.
Yeah. No, it's such an important, it's such an important part of it, and of living a fulfilled life. And bringing it back to this finding your voice, your friend had to find a certain amount of courage to just even ask. She didn't feel safe to go, do you know what? I'm getting on my phone. I'm booking it now. I don't care what happens. She felt that she needed to kind of check in with everybody. Is this okay? Am I allowed to do this?
Right.
And that again is like, what's, the voice thing, like the power of the voice is so incredibly important. But presumably thereafter, having checked that first time, she was like, okay, I think I'm looking at my diary and I think it's about time that I went on another little mini break, a little me break.
Just recently, last year, my friend, she went on vacation with some girlfriends. They went to the islands and everything. And I told her and her husband, I was like, I created a monster. So now she takes her regular breaks she takes a vacation with her and her husband. They do the family thing. And then she's like, I'm off with my friends, my girlfriends for a girl trip. Yeah. And so I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud that she used her power. She used her voice to say, this is what I need. This is what I need so that I can show up and be a better wife, better mom, better employee, what have you. And so I'm just so proud of her. And I'm so proud of so many women who use the power of their voice to say, this is what I need. This is what I need for me to be happier and more fulfilled.
So, I mean, I want to get back to it because I think everyone can understand how important it is to find your voice and to use the power of your voice, because, that is basically how you manifest. I describe this in the course as like, if I wanted to, if I came around to have tea with you, and I said, God, I'm really thirsty, I'd really like a cup of tea. You go, I've got, I'll make you a cup of tea. And before you know it, I've manifested myself a cup of tea because I've voiced my needs, my desires.
Yes.
And you are sweet and kind, and you have put the kettle on and made one for me. But there is, there is a lot of, I'm trying to sort of keep this really simple, but if I was to come into your house and I was parched and I really needed a cup of tea, but I'm like, I don't want to ask for one. It's a bit rude to ask for it. So I'll just sit here quietly on the settee and wait to be offered one. And then you don't offer one. Like, that is, I think, energetically, that's where a lot of people are in terms of like, I don't feel I have the right to ask. I can't really. So, and I think the work that we both do, for me, when I'm working with energy and, you know, that the sort of the energy that we hold in our bodies, it's very evident. You can feel it when the throat chakra is blocked. All you have to think about is like if you were to stand up and talk in front of 1,000 people, like your throat would just go and your mouth would go dry and you'd be sweating. Like this is the throat chakra showing up in its most obvious kind of form. But it's that tongue-tied, that I just can't get the words out because I don't feel I have the right to do so. So what is your advice for that when people are at that stage? Oh, sorry, my dog's just sorry. We're staying in a house where
the dog is using the power of his voice.
He's going, somebody walking past the window. I'm not amused. And it's not as even if it's as if it's his house. This is somebody else's house. Be quiet. Sitting on the sofa like a little prince there. Right. Sorry, totally distracted by dog.
I love it.
So we're talking about somebody who really has lost that, you know, that energy of the throat has gone. So how do we get it back? Where does it come? You know, how do you
I just tell them to start simply. You know, usually in my workshop, I tell people to let's pick one area, because it can be overwhelming to try to I'm gonna speak up here, and just pick one area of your life that you're gonna start today to say, I'm gonna use my voice. If someone asks you to do something and you really don't want to do it, and you usually say yes, say no. That doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. I tell them to start very simple with, you know, saying yes to things you want to say yes to and saying no to the things you really want to say no to. And be okay if people are upset with you, people don't like it. Because if you used to being a certain way and saying yes to people, and now you're saying, no, I'm going to take care of me, I'm going to make me a priority. But some people in your life may not like that. But you have to be okay with saying, this is what I need. But sometimes, like we see with the example I gave with my friend, those around her were supporting her. They wanted her to go take care of herself. And I told her, I said, you made the assumption that your husband wasn't going to be supportive. Your kids weren't going to be supportive. They were like, Mom, go, we're fine. You know, we make the assumption. But until we voice it, you know, see what happens, see what they say. But, and I tell people all the time, it takes courage to be who you are. It takes courage to stand in your own power. And it's an ongoing journey for all of us. But but we have to be intentional about it. We have to say, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and this is what I need. And I'm going to voice it. And some people may like it and some people may not, but I need to make sure I'm getting what I need out of this situation.
And I feel like this is something that is, you know, you can't doubt this, the authenticity of what you're saying, the truth of what you're saying is irrefutable. You can't deny it. And somebody listening to this may go, that's all very well, yeah, I know that's true, but I just don't even know where to start. And my feeling is that you need to sometimes have your hand held a little bit. And this is why because you're creating like a community. You've got these, so your own You're Amazing am I right in thinking it's a bit of a community?
Absolutely, it's a community.
Yeah,
absolutely, because that's part of helping to empower women, is that I've created a community of women who we all need a little push. We all need a hand held at times, especially when we're trying to do something we haven't done before, you know? And so there's support, there's accountability too. I believe in accountability. Like, okay, you said you're going to do this. We're here to support you, but we're going to hold you accountable. We're not going to let you off the hook this time. And so, I mean, I do that on a daily basis with my speech therapy clients. It's like, I'm there to support them. I'm there to support the parents and the families and the children, but I'm also holding them accountable. It's like, this is what you said you wanted. This is what we're going for. Okay, so did you do your part? Okay, if you didn't, let's talk about it. What got in the way? And so I'm here to support, but also to hold you accountable, because I know if you keep moving and do it, you're going to get there. If I can just get people to take that one first step and get the momentum, get the wind under their belt, right? One of the sayings we have at my office that we throw a parade for everything. We celebrate the big wins, the little wins, whatever. And we need that for ourselves too. Like if I showed up for a meeting and I raised my hand and spoke, hey, I celebrate that, you know, so we have to celebrate the small wins, because that's going to help us to get to the bigger wins and to keep us going, to say, yeah, I spoke up that time, and, you know, and the world didn't fall apart. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. So if I just get people to take small steps, try one area of your life, might be with your spouse, might be with your children, might be with your boss, but try to stand in your power just a little bit every day. And before you know it, your confidence is off the chains, you're out the roof, you're showing up more powerfully, you're happier because you feel like you're being heard. And so I tell people, start small. Don't go in there just, you know, trying to do everything, but do something every day.
And I feel like having that support, having a bit of a tribe there,
Yes.
so you're not, don't feel like you're standing up on your own.
Right.
Doing it. You've got, if you if you go and everything, in your worst fears happen and somebody shouts at you or something as a result of you saying no,
Right.
there's people there to go, okay, well, we got you, let's go next, next time.
Exactly.
And I think having that tribe, having that support system, which is root-based energy stuff, that's
Mhm.
that's at the beginning of having that transformation, always having
Mhm.
having that support group. And it's a family, whether it's your
Yeah.
biological family or whatever, it's a family of people who have got your back, whatever. And that's what
Mhm.
builds up, if you're talking energetically, that builds you up, because you then, with your tribe, you can have a laugh, you can be creative, you can be playful, that's sacral. Then you go like, yeah, I got this. You get the courage, you get the confidence,
Yep.
that's sacral. You feel loved, you feel loving towards yourself. They've encouraged you to take your self-care, that's your heart. And then hello, out comes the voice, out comes
Yeah.
the power that is authentic. And when it's authentic and you're speaking your truth, nobody can question that. That's the beautiful thing about truth, is that when
Yeah.
you say, and some people get really, I don't know, I've met people who are like, oh, is your truth, they're like, oh, your truth. I don't care. Well, this is my truth, and they use it as a kind of, they almost weaponize it against
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
That's, let's not go there. However, when you speak from the heart,
Right.
people can't deny that. They can't tell you you're wrong, because it's what's true for you.
Yeah. And even if they do, you're okay,
Mm,
because you're not speaking your truth for other people's approval or confirmation. It's for you.
mm,
And so that has been a big game changer for me. I used to be a big people pleaser, you know, like, oh, whatever. I don't even think about that now. It's like, if you like me, okay, great. If you don't, okay, great. You know, it doesn't stop me from being me. It
yeah.
doesn't stop. I don't try to change myself to be what other people want me to be. I'm me, and I'm comfortable with me. And so, even when people don't support us or don't um, root us on, it's okay. I'm my own cheerleader. You know, I'm the first person to pat me on the back, say, yeah, you know what? You did a good job. Even if no one else tell you, because I know what it took for you to get there. You did a good job today.
Mm.
And so that has been life changing for me, is that I am my own first cheerleader. You know, I am. I used to be a cheerleader way back in the day, middle school. It's like we cheer other people on, but we cheer on ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be something you tell everybody or everybody. Some days, you know, if I feel like I've done a good job, I was like, you did a good job today.
I love that. Everyone should be more Dr. Denise. Everyone needs a Dr. Denise in their lives. And if you don't have a Dr. Denise in your lives, you need to channel Dr. Denise
Yes.
through in your life to tell yourself. So I'm just interested, just before we finish, I'm interested
Yeah.
to know a little bit about your, how you got to this place, how you got to be this beautiful, positive, wonderful energy that you are. I mean, do you credit your lovely parents, your upbringing, your family? What is your, a little bit of
I
your...
do. I credit all those things, you know. My mother said I came out talking and just full of energy, like, you know, which I think part of it just who I am. But along the journey, there have been people and situations that I felt like tried to squash that, and I allowed that for a minute. But now it's like, well, no, I believe that who I am is enough. Who I am is amazing, flaws and all, you know. And so I just have gotten to a point in my life that I don't allow anything because I understand I can control, only person I can control is me. I you know, only person I really have any control over is me. And so I just work to stay positive. I work on it. It is intentional how I show up. For me, you know, I said, if anyone else is having a bad day and I choose to have a good one, well, I can choose to have a good one. You know, I can choose to be happy. I can choose to have joy, regardless of what is happening around me. Because trust me, there's a lot that's happening around me that can draw me into the negativity, into the, you know, the stress, the trauma. But I decided years ago that that's not how I want to live my life anymore. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
I struggled with depression for many years. I struggled with being unfulfilled for many years. And I decided, like, I don't want that anymore. I feel like I can create a more amazing life, and I'm on a journey to do that. And so the story of even how Own Your Amazing came to be, I tell people I have, you know, levels of success, you know, the education, the jobs, all of that, but I wasn't happy and fulfilled. I still felt like there was something missing. I had listened to all the voices and did everything everyone told me to do, but I wasn't happy. And so I got on this journey of self-discovery, like, what is going on with me? So I went to a weekend retreat. And so I arrived to Dallas, Texas that Friday, and I went out to dinner with one of the attendees, and we got to know each other, was talking, sharing our stories. And so the next day was the actual retreat, and each person had an opportunity to come to the front of the room to be coached by the facilitator, to coach that weekend. And so as I'm sitting in the audience, you know, watching other people, they go to the front of the room, they're very emotional, and I'm sitting there kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know, you know, whatever. And so then it's my turn to go to the front of the room. When I tell you, as soon as I sat down, I just booed, ugly cry and everything. And the coach, she was like, oh my God, what is happening? What's going on with you? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know. I can't get it together, you know? And so the young lady who I'd gone out to dinner with the night before, she raised her hand and she said, I know what's going on with you. Yeah. I was thinking like, no, you don't. We just met. How are you going to know? I've been on this journey and you just, so all of that's going through my head, but I didn't say anything. I just said, oh, okay. What's going on with me? And she said, I met you yesterday. She said, you're smart, you're talented, you're brilliant. She said, you're all these things. She said, but you don't own it. She said, you need to own your amazing and stop playing small. I was like, oh my God, that's it. Oh my God, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But she just helped to language what I had been feeling. I knew there was more for me. Deep down inside, we all know there's so much more. There's so much more we should be doing, we should be experiencing, but we have not allowed ourselves to do that. And so since that day, literally almost 7 years ago, I've been on a mission to share the message of Own Your Amazing. Own your amazing. Embrace every part of you because you are amazing. We just got to own it and then go out and live our lives. That's it.
Perfect. And I can add no more. I feel like that is the perfect place to close our conversation. I am so enthused and inspired. Like, you are really inspiring, Dr. Denise. I absolutely have loved meeting you. You're a ray of
Thank you so much.
Sunshine. So how can people find you? Obviously, Own Your Amazing, your ownyouramazingnnow.com is your website.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the website. I tell people to start there, you know, check it out. I'm also on Facebook. I come on every Thursday. I do a thing called Think About It Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just a few minutes, just, you know, getting people to think about. You need to think about what you're thinking about. You need to think about your life.
Yeah, I like that.
And so every Thursday I just pop on for a few minutes and like, hey, what is this is what's going on. Have you thought about this? How are you doing this? Are you living your life? Are you creating the life you want? All those things. So I come on every Thursday. So I invite people to join me on that. I do have an Own Your Amazing community where we answer questions, we talk, we share what's going on with each other. But I have built a community of women and some men who are there, but we're all on this thing of like really owning our amazing, owning our lives. Like, are you doing those things that's going to make you happy? Are you doing the things that light you up every day? Are you getting up early and staying up late because you're living your life? And so that's what we're about. And so I invite anyone to join us to be a part of that community. Again, we're going to give you some support, but we're also going to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
We're going to hold you accountable for what you say that you want for your life. And so, again, start with the website ownyouramazingnow.com, but also you can join me on social media every week.
Brilliant. That sounds wonderful. I encourage everybody to do that. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. Yay.